Hi, this dish that I'm about to show you is full of colour, full of flavour and loaded with vegetables. It's the perfect vegan midweek meal and it uses the TM7's open cooking mode and the full capacity of the Varoma. So let's get started. So I've got the recipe up on my screen, the Vegetable Massaman Curry, and we're going to press start. Okay, our TM7 screen is showing us what it wants us to do with our digital twin here, and it wants us to take the lid off. It actually knows when you've done that step, and we want to place some peanuts. Now, you can use some roasted unsalted peanuts, that's what the recipe calls for, but if you didn't want to have them roasted, you can definitely use just raw peanuts. It's just going to alter the flavour a little bit. So we want about 50 grams of that in there. Oh, almost bang on, and our Thermomix recognises that we've got the right amount in there and it automatically is ticking off that step for us. How cool is that? All right, we're going to go to next, and we want to mill this for 3 seconds on speed 7. Once the lid's on, your little play button becomes green. You'll press play. Beautiful, that's milled up our peanuts. All right, so we're now going to add the remainder of our ingredients. Let me just show you quickly what the peanuts look like after they've been chopped for 3 seconds. How cool is that? All right, we want to pop in our peanut oil, about 20 grams of that. Next, we need some onions that have been cut into quarters. So I'll just move those chilies aside because that's our next ingredient. There we are. Now you can manually check it off because if you actually put a little bit more than's needed or too much less than's needed, the Thermomix won't recognise that you've actually put the ingredient in, but you can just tick it off manually. We want some long red chilies, they go in there, we'll check it off, and then some Massaman curry paste, about 120 grams of that. Okay, and then we can press next, and we're going to chop that for a few seconds. Our funky chime there tells us when it's done. And we're going to just scrape down the sides of the bowl, have a look at what we've got here. Beautifully chopped base for our curry. The beautiful thing about the TM7 spatula is it's really quite long and narrow, and you can quite easily scrape the sides down. No effort needed. Next. All right, we're now going to cook that off for 3 minutes on 120 degrees, speed 1. It is telling us to follow the steps that are coming up next so that we can make really good use of our time. And the next step is to line our Varoma tray with some baking paper, and we want to make sure that it's kind of lifted up on the sides of that tray, and I'll show you what that looks like. So this is our Varoma. It has a lid. It's got what we call the dish, and this here is the tray. So we're wanting to put our baking paper just here. Don't be too fussy with it. We are going to put some ingredients in there which will weigh it down. Okay, now we're going to add our remainder of our ingredients for the base of that curry. We want 400 grams of water. It's already tiered our scales for us. It does that when you take the lid off. Water done. We want 20 grams of tamarind paste. You can find that in your local supermarket, or you can go to a specialty Asian shop. We want some palm sugar as well, 20 grams of that as well. Some fish sauce, 15 grams. And our vegetable stock paste, the one that we all make ourselves at home. You've got to do yourselves a favour. If you've not made it, go and check that recipe out on Cookidoo. It's so easy to do and you'll never look back. Now we need a cinnamon quill and some of the lime leaves, macrate lime leaves. Usually in the shop they're just called lime leaves. So we want 3 of those. The beautiful thing about checking off your ingredients as you go, you're not going to forget any crucial ingredients in the recipe. And roasted peanuts, 50 grams of those. Okay, we're going to pop our Varoma dish on top. So to do that, we put our lid on. Keeping in mind this digital twin is showing you what to do, right? So it's telling us to take the lid cap off, and we want to place our Varoma dish on top. And now we're going to weigh in our potatoes, which I've cut up into small 1 centimetre to 2 centimetre cubes, and we want about 400 grams of those. We're going to season them with a little bit of salt. And on top of those potatoes, we're now going to add some mushrooms. And what I've got here is some button mushrooms that have been sliced, and these are the baby oysters, but you can get the bigger oysters, and you're just going to chop them up into halves. We're going to pop our tray in at this point with the baking paper that we had on top before. And we're going to pop our eggplant, which we've also cubed into 1 to 2 centimetres, and that goes on top. You want to just make sure that they're evenly spread around, but you can see the beauty of the Varoma here and the layered cooking. We are, packing it here. We've got a sauce happening in the base, the curry paste, the curry base, I should say. We've got the Varoma dish with some potatoes and mushrooms, and we're topping it with that eggplant. The general rule is the thing that takes the longest time to cook goes at the bottom, and the thing that takes the shortest time to cook is at the top in the tray. All right, we just want to put a little bit more peanut oil and salt on top of this eggplant here. The Varoma lid goes on, making sure it's on properly. And now we're going to steam it for 16 minutes. And there's a mode in the Thermomix that's called steaming mode. It's within the guided recipe right now, but you can also access that manually. So while this is cooking, I've got my hands free to go and do anything else I want to do. Okay, this is done. Let's pop on to our next step. It's setting our Varoma aside to keep it warm, remembering that our lid acts as a tray, as a base. Next, we're going to add our coconut cream, and that's just 1 can or 270 grams of coconut cream. And we're just going to heat that through, this time with our lid cap on, for about 5 minutes. Okay, final 2 ingredients here. We've got our can of chickpeas, which have been rinsed and drained. And we want our green beans just cut into halves, topped and tailed. And now we're going to add the contents of our Varoma back into this mixing bowl. So that's our potatoes, our mushrooms, and our eggplant. Using your spatula, you just want to give it a nice little mix through. And before we add the eggplants, we're going to just cook this for another 5 minutes, but this time without our lid in place. Now, the beauty of cooking without the lid is that it's pretty much like a pot on a stove. It's going to allow that steam to evaporate, it thickens your sauce, and every couple of minutes I don't have to keep taking my lid on and off. I can actually just come back and stir with my spatula. Now, final step is to add our cooked eggplant that we reserved before and put it aside. And you just want to, again, gently stir with your spatula to make sure it's all incorporated. And you can see this is like a full dish, right? It's using the whole bowl. There's a lot of goodness packed in there, and it's going to serve the whole family plus more. You might get some leftovers for lunch the next day. Once you've given it a nice stir, we're going to again cook without the lid for the final 5 minutes. That is it, that's our dish. All that's left is to now serve it up. You can have it as is, or you can serve it up with some rice. This is a great way of adding a plant-based meal to your midweek meals while keeping everyone at the table happy. Even our non-vegetarians here in the office absolutely raved about this dish. So for more healthy vegetarian dishes just like this one, make sure you jump onto Cookidoo.